that you don't have to know it all. You don't have to be the smartest one in the room. You don't have to be the one that is going to execute upon everything. And in fact, the best thing you can do is be the one that brings together those who are the best at what they do.
Okay, good morning, Allison. It's great to have you here.
Good morning. You bet. I'm so happy to be here and have a conversation with you.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate the time that you are giving us today. I think it's a very important conversation to have. And I'm so thankful with you that you accepted our invitation to talk to women and to all of us about construction, your experience, and your life, and I cannot wait to hear your journey throughout your life in the construction industry. So, but first of all, could you tell us a little bit about you so we can have a background?
Yes. So it's always hard to know, where does one start when someone asks a question like that? So I guess the first thing that popped to mind is I've been with F.H.Perry Builder since 2000. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have that very round number as my starting place. So
easy to count when they ask you how many years in the
industry. So it's easy. It's also 22 years, which is mind-boggling in some ways. But when I sort of look back over that journey, I was in my late 20s, and it was just a starting place. I began my life, as many of us do, and just sort of following my heart, my passion, having my parents say, you know, maybe this is a place where you could put your good energy instead of putting it in the wrong place. But the theater was really where I spent my days, my time. I was not an athlete. Despite my 6-foot frame, I cannot lob a volleyball over a net or get a basketball into a hoop. It's just not going to happen. But I just loved being in the theater. I loved the sort of what you learned as a young person, having to kind of put yourself out there, and you are your own brand and your own story, and having to audition and all that stuff. So anybody who's ever been on the stage or put themselves out there as an artist, as the thing, it's a powerful place, I think, to sort of create a foundation. And I went with it. My parents supported it. And I'm sure, and I know that for many years, I thought that would be my life passion and I would be famous. But then I hit the real world doing the audition circuit, and fame comes with determination and networking and connections. And it's so funny that now I know how a business works. If I could have applied all my business sense to myself as a creative, I might be in a different spot now, but I didn't have that. I just had the creative side. So I parlayed my determination and creative energy into supporting my dad's business. Mm-hmm. When I was in my late 20s, I was sort of moving away from theater, and Dad said, hey, how about coming on board and helping our clients with selections? You know, when you go into a project, there's so many plumbing and tile and all those pieces. And we weren't working with architects and interior designers as much back then. So Dad had this general contracting company. He had clients he was building additions and renovations and homes for. He needed someone to come in and kind of help usher that process through. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was sort of a 6-month gig. I was like, we'll see. I don't know what I want to do yet. We'll play it out. Mm-hmm. So he and I just stayed in step together, and he just kept giving me opportunity over and over, Angela. He just, right. How about Allison tries that? Or I could be on that panel, but how about Allison's on that panel? Or I could be on that committee, but how about Allison? And so I just kept getting myself out there and being a part of the industry on a larger scale. And so it's been, 22 years of a life MBA or a master's degree in how to run a business, how to be a human, how to interact with clients, how to understand the world in different and evolving ways. And what's become my real passion is leadership, and bringing that to bear on a small business. So.
Right. That is so important when you mention about opportunity, right? Like life basically is about opportunity, right? And how we can prepare ourselves to really take advantage when that opportunity comes to us, right? Because I'm sure you were like, your dad was giving you these opportunities, but I'm sure you were taking them, right? And you were learning, right, and you were taking advantage of those opportunities.
Right. I wish I could own that. And maybe in hindsight, I probably did, but I was just trying to work my tail off. That was all I knew. It's just hard work, show up, be present. Because it felt like a lot of pressure at the time around, what are you doing here? What are you bringing to us? I didn't have a degree. I don't have letters behind my name. I was just this person who brought herself to bear in the best possible way. And so I'm not sure I called it opportunity as much as I called it, well, I better say yes, because I never know what the thing is that's going to undo me. So I want to make sure that I've put as many things in place as possible to be successful.
Right. So it is a big transition, right? From theater into construction. How was that process? How was your feeling? How was your determination? Say like, okay, I'm gonna, or it was more because you thought it was gonna be just 6 months. So
right. There's always sort of been two parts of me that have been pulled out. I mean, I do have, so I have that creative side, and I love that aspect of myself and of a way to engage in the world. There's another part of me that's very much about organization, about getting things done, about understanding how a process works from A to Z. And then another part, a third part, maybe around what I always loved about the theater was the energy that comes together towards a common goal. So a big Broadway production is one thing, but we always believed we were in a big Broadway production, even if we were in a very local community production.
Okay.
You put your heart and soul and energy and everything into a theater production. And if you are the lead, you care just as much about the walk-ons and the smaller parts, because you can't do it without them. And you care just about the technical crew, because you can't do it without them. And the director offers a hierarchy, and the whole thing mirrors a small business, mirrors a project, right? So I'm not sure it ever felt like a big departure, but just more a deepening of what I already knew to be true about what makes a team successful or a project successful. And I never kind of put that together out in the real world, but I think it touches on a lot of the same strengths and skills that I already had brought to bear.
It is amazing. I had never thought, that theater was gonna give you, because I've never been in that industry, that it would give you all of those lessons. And yes, it makes sense when you are saying that, because definitely you need to count on all the people that are part of the play, right? So right. It is amazing how now that I listen to you, it totally makes sense. So since you already kind of know, because you were coming from that background, what do you think that you learned or you did well from the beginning, Allison, that really helped you be as successful as you are today? It was something that you said like, yes, I nailed this one, and that really helped me be where we are today.
Oh boy, that's a good question. I think the reason I'm hesitating is because it's not that I've applied a philosophy that I knew about. I feel like I've just kind of followed my nose through life, although I did have someone say following your nose is a choice as well, right? So you do make these choices all along the way, even if you don't realize in the moment that you're making a choice. But I think a couple things one thing for sure that I adopted from my dad is the notion of leverage, that you don't have to know it all. You don't have to be the smartest one in the room. You don't have to be the one that is going to execute upon everything. And in fact, the best thing you can do is be the one that brings together those who are the best at what they do. And when you do that, everybody rises up. So I think I learned that lesson early on and have played that out throughout my career, that my job is to hold the container in which people can be successful. And my job is to remove as many barriers as possible. And even if that barrier is that my team is crunching away at some project and they need to eat, I need to go get them lunch, because that removes a barrier. That allows them to be nourished. It allows them to keep meeting so that no one has to break to run to the sub shop. Whatever it is, in other words. So that's like on a small scale, but on a big scale, there's realizing that people are stuck in a bit of a deadlock or conversation. This just happened this morning, that very excellent, very smart people are operating in a silo. So I said, guys, we need to come together. We need to understand what is happening in each position. We need to bring this together. We did that. They're reset and off they go. It's not about me taking on what their work is, but it's about setting again, resetting, holding the container for which people can be successful. So that's been kind of my through line.
That is, listening to you, obviously you are so wise with all the experience that you have had, but it totally makes sense because a lot of people, and especially women, right, that when we want to join into creating a new company or a new project or a new goal, we feel like we need to do everything, right? And there are a lot of solo entrepreneurs, right, that they just want to do everything themselves. But what you are saying makes totally sense, like how you can build that team that surrounds you, right, and is going to bring you success. But at the same time, you don't need to be in front of the team. You can be in the back of the team, supporting them and giving them the tools to be successful. That is a huge lesson in leadership, Allison, I believe, because a lot of leaders think that they need to be in front, right? And the others go in the back.
Yeah.
Which is, I agree with you. I don't think that's the way to lead, but there is a huge misinterpretation in some corporations about, I am the leader, I take credit for everything, right? And if it is bad, it's their fault. It's such a backwards way to see leadership.
Well, the other thing that you're making me think of, though, is there's a complexity to allowing people to really understand that is my style of leadership, because from day one, in most educational systems, there is a teacher standing at the front of the room that tells the students if they're right or wrong, good or bad, directs the conversation. If you get a wonderful teacher, it would be somebody who inspires thinking, brings in great ideas, allows the students to determine how the class is going to move forward. But like so many systems, it works when it's sort of encapsulated inside one thing. But all that to say that sort of our societies get us geared towards the leader knows everything and don't move until the leader tells you to move. Right. And I keep saying, you're only going to move as fast as I can move if you're waiting for me to be the one that tells you how to move.
Exactly, yes.
If you want to be on the field, get out there. I'll keep coaching you, but go make mistakes. Go run the ball. Go see where we can get to. And then we'll huddle up again. And I think another thing we get stuck in is thinking that you're going to land in an ideal situation. And suddenly you're going to look around and say, we have figured it out. We have no more difficult clients. We have no more difficult employees. Nothing is going to stop labor. We've got all the budgets and schedule. Like, forget it. It's not going to happen. So the joy needs to be in building a team around you that you can be nimble with and pivot with and have these conversations of what's your idea? What's your idea? My strength here is this. Your strength here is this. Time out. Let's hear from this person because they've been through this before.
Mm-hmm.
And really making sure that people understand that that is our culture. That's the way we want to run our company.
Mm-hmm.
I get so stuck if people say, I'm only going to go up to here and then I'm going to stop. And then it's your company, Allison. So you decide. What? I don't know any more than you do.
Yes, we are a team. Yes.
We're a team. I'll give you everything I know, but I need what you know. That's why we're doing this.
Right. And it's so this morning I was listening to a podcast about failure, right? And it was about a book, if I can remember well, it was Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And I found it so fascinating, right? And that's exactly what you are saying,
right.
Allison. Just go out there and fail because that's how you learn, right?
Right.
And it's so important to have leaders like you that are giving us and people the opportunity to go out and fail, because that's really how you learn. And that's what, like, I tell my daughters when they go to school, like this week, actually, Isabella had a test, a math test, and she was nervous. And I'm like, why are you nervous? And she's like, I don't want to fail. And I'm like, and what happens if you fail?
Right.
What do you think is going to happen? You are going to learn from your failure. So don't worry about it. Don't stress yourself about it. And I'm sure you are going to do better.
Right.
You're not going to have that stress in her mind. So she came back that afternoon and I'm like, how was the test? And she was like, oh, I think I did well. I was the first one that finished. And I asked her, what do you think why do you think that happened? Because in general, when you see her grades, she like, or her homework is A+, but test is like B, right? Because so I start stress that test taking gives her, that what I was trying to teach her is like failing is okay. It's nothing wrong about that. You will learn from that. So when I heard this podcast this morning about sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, it's so applicable. And that's something that I think business need to learn, right? Instead of the old school, and especially in construction, right? Because it's a very old school mentality still. How we can bring, how do you, Allison, think we can bring that mentality to the new business owners in construction, to women in construction? What do you think we can do? Like education, what would be your idea of switching that mentality to accepting more failure?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful question. And what is so interesting to me with your story about your daughter is how early it gets ingrained in us that failure is not okay. It's not an option, that you have to be working towards a grade. And I tried the same thing with my kids. I say, grades don't matter. And they're like, of course they matter, Mom. That's why we're talking about them, you know? So there is a way in which I'm not sure just saying it's okay to fail or it's okay to make mistakes is actually the language. I think we do need to create different ways of thinking about it, which I love the name of that podcast from this morning, because it makes you pause. It makes you think about it in a different way. And I suppose as you were feeding back to me, my notion of being a leader from behind changes the paradigm a little bit. And I think it's just over time, these subtle adjustments that people can see and feel around how we're going to operate. I think you have to model it. I don't think you can just say, it's okay to fail, go ahead and fail, because I think we literally can't. In some instances, it is so ingrained in us to not fail.
Right.
It doesn't help to have someone say, go ahead and fail.
Mhm.
It's what is a different way to have the conversation, the dialogue? What is a different metaphor we can use? What is a different, I don't know, stick figure model we can draw that actually shows and gives people tangible imagery around what we mean when we say that?
Right. And it comes to what you mentioned before, is about the culture that you have in your company, right?
Right.
To your point previously, it was so true, talking about people thinking that the leader is in front, right? How you can also switch that mentality that is not that necessarily. I've had experiences where people, because I like to put myself in the back, like, how can I give you the tools to succeed? Some people have misinterpreted that as weakness, right? As
Right.
you don't know, like, why. And it's amazing how putting yourself as a leader behind and giving the team the tools really, to me, brings you beyond what probably your goal was initially.
Yeah.
So talking about failures, share with us a failure.
Oh my gosh.
Learning lesson
How much time do you have?
that maybe like really impacted you or the business in a big way, and how you fix it, or you dealt with it.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, one particular project comes to mind that was, I knew the day that we negotiated it, we should have walked out. I just knew. And 3 years later, we were sitting on opposite sides of the table trying to hammer out how we were going to extricate ourselves from the project.
Mhm.
And a couple of things come up for me. I mean, like anything, it was an enormous learning experience. And I've based so many decisions going forward off of both what happens when your gut, when your instinct tells you you are not where you should be. And I don't know if I didn't listen to it because I was too young.
Mhm.
I felt too inexperienced across the table from this client who was just brilliant, very smart man, very capable. His wife knew contract language inside out and backwards,
Mhm.
brought to bear exactly what she wanted. And we wanted the project.
Right.
So we went for it. And it cost us dearly in so many ways, financially, for sure, legal fees, for sure, not because we got into litigation or anything, but because we had to resort to lawyers speaking with each other in order to clean it up.
Mhm.
And I think a big piece for me was allowing my voice to come into play at a time when I wasn't sure that I would be heard or listened to. And at the end, I got so, the clarity came on like a ton of bricks. Some of the people on my team wanted to stay in it and fight. And if we stayed in it and fought, we would lose more money and way more energy for another year, which all that energy that could go to something else. And I stood my ground at one point and just said, no, we're not going to do that. It's going to hurt our pocketbook right now, like you would not believe. But I would rather have that hurt than get the small win at the end if we keep fighting. So the failure was, did I bring enough expertise to bear? Did I leverage myself enough and surround myself enough with people who really knew what they were doing? Did I use my voice enough? Did I challenge myself in the position that I was in, even though I was young? Did I use the weight of my position? All things I think about, all things that I probably, even in hindsight, am not sure I would have been able to do anything differently than what I did.
Right.
But now I understand the choices that I made at that time. I understand that some of the choices that I made didn't serve me, and the beliefs I held about myself at the time did not serve me. And so I suppose later in my career, I can now make different choices and be a different person. But that was a painful time.
It was an incredible lesson, right? Listening, like what you really got from it sounds like a huge learning experience.
It was absolutely. Yeah.
Listening to your gut, it's something that also with time I have learned to do. I in one of my positions, I hired this person that in the interview seems, I mean, I couldn't find anything wrong.
Yeah.
Find anything wrong, but there was something inside me that said no, but I couldn't really prove that I should not hire that person. And I did, and at the end I learned the lesson. And
I have been there so many times.
yes.
Gosh, yes.
So listening to your gut is so important too, right?
Yeah. But I'm aware, Angela, of how many things are going on in that moment that isn't just, so it's easy to say, listen to your gut. Right. But my gut is all confused with how old I am and my position and my proving myself and my perfection and my desire to move this candidate forward because we really need it, or my desire to take this job on because we really need it. Like, I think we always have to know that we're doing the best we can in the moment that we're in. And even our bad behavior, or even the behavior that we shouldn't have, is serving some kind of purpose to keep us as safe as possible. So I might not have seen what the choice that I was making, and that I was actually making an unsafe choice, but at the time, it felt like the safe choice. It felt like I was doing the right thing. I was preserving my internal relationships with my team. I was bringing a $4 million project into the company. I was willing to sacrifice myself to serve this client in order for the company to be successful, right? How do we know in these moments?
Right.
So
that's what I think, that maybe we just had to go through that experience for our own personal human being growth, right?
Right, which gets back to this thing of like, it's okay to fail. So maybe we have to have these stories, because if I didn't have that story, if everything was sunshine and lollipops for my whole early career, I would not be where I am now. So it's, how do you, I don't know.
Right. No, I think we agree. Yes. And I think, I don't know if this is going back to the woman topic, is this something that maybe men, like, have you had any conversation like this with men, like where they tell you, you know, my gut didn't tell me? Do they have that same intuition? Do you think that they operate that way?
I don't know that, now that you say that, I mean, obviously I can't remember, but I'm not sure that gut and intuition play, like that's language that I've heard as much. I hear it from women quite a lot. I'm not sure I've heard it as much from men, but I think, well, I don't know.
I would imagine they do, but they just don't say it. And I think that's why it's so important for women to have these conversations, because then we realize that we all go through very similar things.
Right.
And we are more open to talk, right, as women. And especially in construction, being such a small group of, you know, women in the industry, how we can really, my dream is to open the pool and bring more women into the industry, because I do believe that the industry would benefit from having more of us, because of these kind of conversations.
Right.
And yes, we are in construction, but this happens in any kind of industry. Like, you know, in entrepreneurship, it happens all the time. So how can we tell all these women, like, join the industry? It is basically the same here. And we can really open more opportunities for us here.
Yeah.
So what do you think, are the advantages or disadvantages of women in the industry? What do you see in both sides?
Yeah. So a couple things. One is I definitely think there is feminine and masculine energy in everybody, and that we don't necessarily need to genderize it and make it very specific. So in other words, I could have a lot of masculine energy in me, even though I'm a woman, and vice versa. So what I think is helpful is to, when you think about how do we create balance in those energies, because you need both in the world, in society, in community, in business, you need both. So what comes up for me is that if the feminine energy can begin to, and will most likely show up in women, but I just say that to say that I think there can be balance. If it can come in with, and women can hold on to this notion of consistency, meaning you said something earlier and it clicked for me as well, of like, people aren't always as comfortable having a leader coming in from behind them and wanting to support them and wanting to do it that way, right? So what might happen for a woman leader or for a woman in any sort of paradigm of business is she might say to herself, I should stop doing this. It's not what people want. It's uncomfortable. I look weak. I'm trying too hard to hold the team together. That's such a female job. I shouldn't do that. Instead of saying, it is so natural to me, it's like breathing. I'm going to stay in this position because I don't know how to do anything else. It's my strong suit. I'm comfortable here. So that's, again, whether you're male or female, that the feminine energy of nurturing, of creating space, of holding people, moving forward, all of that, that what I've noticed over time, the more I lean into exactly who I am, the more I say, my gut is telling me blah, 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 the more I talk about intuition, and the more success I have by not fighting against all of that, the more people are now like, oh, that's what we need. Where's Allison? Let's ask her. Oh, interesting that one of the women on the team said this, that, or the other thing. Maybe we should do that. Oh my gosh, the clients really need some care right now. This project manager is flailing all over the place because he's got so much going on in his personal life. Let's nurture him. And we begin to share it now in our organization. It's not just the women that are saying it. It's not just the men that are saying it. We're crossing over and bringing to bear the energy that's necessary strategically in a moment to keep the company moving forward.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of it, of lean into what you are, male, female. We need all of the energy in order to make an enterprise be successul.
It totally makes sense. And I love what you are saying about female and male energy instead of women and men, right? But just, so how would you attract more female energy into the industry, Allison? Just putting it in your words, because I feel that girls, let's go back on like maybe the future generation into the industry, right? How we can bring this younger generation to feel more attracted, if that's the word, to join our industry. How we could attract them? How could we show them that female experience? How can we show them that this is also a fun industry, that is an interesting job, that is a fulfilling job, that in my case, like, I love seeing when things are built, like we started from nothing and now there is a bridge there, helping people. Like I see like how we are servicing people by building that bridge, right? So but I'm not sure that the younger generation, male and female actually, because there is a shortage in people in the industry, are really seeing how fun or how good this industry is, or how of a service this industry is. What do you think would be a good way to show them that? Is something comes in mind, Allison?
I think if I could have that thing, I would put it into play, and I'd be not sitting here talking to you because I would have had it all figured out. Or maybe I would be sitting here and we'd be throwing balloons up in the air because we've got it figured out. It's such a hard question. And I always feel a little vulnerable when I'm sitting in this position because I am not in the field. I am not a project manager. I am not a construction person. I am a business person. I am a people person. I am a management person. So when people ask,
wait, Allison, that's exactly what you are saying. I think it just clicked to me. That is a good way to present it to them. You don't need to be out there if you don't want to, right?
Right. But it's both, right? We need both because and that whole, I mean, I've heard people say, well, women aren't strong enough. They can't lug shingles up a ladder. But I've been on job sites and there are some male bodies that shouldn't be humping shingles up a ladder. Like, I think we need to start like redefining what the expectations are of the role. I think job descriptions will help. I think monetary, financial, think about what you could make out as a starting carpenter, as a plumbing apprentice, of where you could then get to, that this is no longer sort of an us and them industry. This is a place where you can solidly build a profession and move up through hierarchical ranks that are very similar to hierarchical ranks in other industries very quickly and make good money because you are bringing a skill. So I think there's something we need to shift in the paradigm around. It's come into this industry. It's a good place to be. You can make a really wonderful living. You can support your family, all of that kind of stuff. And you can do what you love to do. You can be a part of seeing something go from the ground up. We need women at management levels, project management, site management, all the way up to company management and ownership for sure. Again, back to what we were talking about earlier of how to cross that over. And I think that, I mean, it's so simple, but somebody said it to me at the women's conference, this notion that how do we get some posters in the career offices at the schools that have women with construction hard hats on instead of just men, just literal imagery that makes it possible, and resets the story and the narrative right from the outset.
Right. And I totally agree with you. One of the things that I have in mind when I started the mobile application was especially for, I think of my Latina women, right? A lot of them didn't have, the opportunity to education or things like that. And I know they have to have 2 or 3 jobs in order to support their families. So how we can inform them that being in this industry, as you said, can give them the means to have only 1 job, have time to be with their families, right? Because when you have 3 jobs, you have to go 3 shifts and you never see your kids and they have to manage themselves. And, it creates all other issues from the culture perspective and society, right? How as a mother, you can be still with your kids if you are going to the site, start from 6:30 or 6:45 in the morning and work until 3:30 and then be home by 5 and be with your kids, help them with homework, whatever. So how, so I'm thinking, I want to tell women that this is possible and they can live well and they can sustain their family and they don't need to be strong. Obviously, I am not in the field, but you were talking about you're 6 feet tall. I am not even 5 feet tall. So, and I am in the industry and I paint and I do stuff around my house, that don't need me to be super strong. And there is a lot of equipment and technology nowadays that can help, in some ways. So how we can advertise. I think we need to market the industry in a different way, right? To your point, like put vision, put things that women can be there. And I've noticed that it's been a shift, right, Allison? Like now I can see more like pictures of women. Yeah. It's funny now. I go to websites and now what I see is like women with her hats. It's so funny. Yeah. With the.
But I think that's an important piece too. I think that there's, you know, here's the secret is that men want to do that too. Men want to be able to be home with their kids too. Right. So when we think about, you know, if I think about myself as a young woman who wants to get into construction, all I picture is, you know, very masculine, gruff, you know, hardcore, dirty, messy, beer drinking. Like, that's not fair to them necessarily either, because that is actually not the picture. No. What you have is men who want to do something they love, care about their families. They're asking me about their hours just as much because they want to get home and they want to support their wife to be able to pick the kids up so that she can continue working her job. Like what we're doing now is shifting so dramatically. And I think that message needs to get out, that it's safer perhaps than you think. I think there's absolutely still gender bias things that you're going to bump into. And I don't want to, we have so much work to do and I don't want to sort of discredit that. But I also think we need to begin to paint a different picture of what a construction site looks like, what a job trailer looks like, what a job site office looks like, what the client looks like, that there is a place for you to fit, for you to be safe, for you to experience some collegiality on the site with women, with men, with clients, with architects, with designers, where we're all doing this because we love it and we're passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely. I had my experience and you said, I mean, it's a stereotype, right? I thought initially also like, oh, I want to be out here in the field with these big guys, being myself so little and especially here in the States with the accent and all of that. But they are really sweethearts. I've never had a bad experience. And I'm not saying other women have, like, you know, right, because obviously there are cases, but I've never had a bad experience with them. They were super nice, super helpful, super supportive. So it's also that stereotype that you were mentioning at the beginning that we need to change. A lot of stereotypes in the industry, definitely.
Definitely. All across the board. Yep.
No, definitely. Allison, and switching a little bit into like mentorship and coaching. I know you love that, right? So tell us, if besides your dad, because I'm sure he was your main mentor, have you had other mentors in your life? And what do you think? Do you think is necessary? Is it a good idea to have a mentor? And how to go about it?
Yes, I am all about having someone in your corner. We all need that. When I think about it, though, I think one distinction that's really maybe helpful is I think there is a difference between a consultant, a mentor, and a coach. And I think it's really important for people to understand that there is a difference and to know what you're looking for. So in my mind, a mentor is someone who is doing something the way that you would like to someday do it, or is made it to a place in life that you admire, or holds a position that you would like to hold. And that person can open doors for you by making phone calls and can sit down with you over coffee and say, this is what I did to get here. And you get to make a choice about, do I want to do that? Not want to do that? That's really cool. I love what they did. And have that person be in your court, but what that person knows is their experience. A consultant is someone who's going to tell you what to do. You might pay them. They might come into your business. They might, if you're a small shop and you want to grow and become a bigger shop, you might hire this person to come in and say, okay, this is my expertise. I make small shops into big shops. Here are the things you need to do. We're going to follow my path and system. You're going to pay me and you're going to have a big shop. And then there's a coach, which is someone who joins you where you are and expands your possibilities inside of you. And you may bring back what you learned from the consultant and the mentor and say, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it, and I'm stuck. And the coach might say, why are you stuck? Let's look at your belief systems. You heard what the mentor said you need to do, but you're nervous about calling people. What's going on for you? Why are you nervous about calling people? Let's talk about what beliefs you have about cold calls. Let's work through that. So I think it's really important that people understand that it's not one blanket term. You should know what you're seeking and then go seek it and know what you're going to get from it when you seek it out.
Right. Have you had all of them in your life?
I've had all of them. Every single version.
Right.
The consultant makes you feel like you can finally attack a problem. The mentor makes you feel like it's inspiring, and the coach has made me figure out how to do it on my own and from my own terms, and has shifted, my belief systems enough that I can get out of my own way.
Yeah. Are you thinking, do you coach people? Do you mentor people? Do you consult with people?
I do. It's funny. And I because I hold those distinctions, I always have to make sure I know what hat I'm wearing. Because if I'm coaching somebody and I start telling them what to do, it's confusing.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
But a lot of people confuse that those two concepts, especially.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when you start out a conversation with someone, you need to say what you're looking for. I am looking for advice. I want advice. Okay, consultant hat goes on. Here's what you need to do. Or mentor hat, here's what I did that worked for me. I am actually personally someone who I don't really like advice most of the time, unless I'm really stuck and I really need some expertise. But most of the time, I'm looking for somebody to help me untangle my own web so that I can figure out how to do it myself. So if I find myself in a position where someone's giving me advice, I go, whoop, that's the end of that conversation. And I never want to put anybody in that position. I want to know, what is it that you need from me? And it also, sometimes you'll get into a situation where you can see it so clearly. I know what this person needs. This person is so much in their own way. If they could only.
Yeah.
So I will say, I'm going to give you some advice, but I know it's going to be hard for you to take it. Or I'm going to tell you what I did. And I know that will be, you taking that in will be a challenge. What I found is, over my own experiences, is those things sit and marinate and you noodle on them. And eventually you're sort of like, oh my gosh, I just did that thing that she told me 5 years ago. Yeah. But we have to be careful to meet people where they are and to help people change at the pace that they're willing to change at. And I believe that what our job is in that is to say, how you are serving you? What is it that you're getting out of the way that you are? And is it serving you to the best of its ability? A lot of times behaviors that we've put in place for years and years and years no longer serve us. It doesn't mean throw them away, but it means you might have to think about doing something in a different way. But you can't make a choice to do something differently until you know what you're already doing.
Right. I'm sure you will be a perfect coach. I know you are a perfect coach, because I'm sure you, just by talking to you, I could talk to you forever. At least
same.
Everything you said, how you could, as a coach, also challenge. When you come, let's say you come and tell me, Angela, have you thought of that? Because for me, what I see in coaching is I answer my own questions, right? Like, you help me answer my own questions, right?
Exactly.
And it is hard, because we need to know ourselves so well, and sometimes we don't know ourselves so well. So we need to start.
I think that's the job of being human, and it goes for your entire life.
Right.
But it comes from the inside out as opposed from the outside in. I mean, if you think about learning situations where people are just throwing data at you or information at you, is so different from if you suddenly have an aha moment and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that is how I've been believing that the world works this whole time. I now see it through different lens, and you start operating differently. It's the same thing. Don't fear failure. Don't fear failure. Okay, I won't fear failure, but until you have an experience from the inside out, you don't know what that means.
I agree. Yeah. And that's something you have to experience yourself, right? Nobody else can experience it for you.
Right. But if you have a coach that's working you through it, it's like, oh, I see it. I understand it. Okay. I know why I'm here.
Exactly. And a lot of, I mean, a lot of people are fearful to ask for advice or ask for help, right? Because we are afraid to look weak or whatever the case it is, right? But it's not. Like, just be open to ask for help, because I know everybody, or in general, most of the people would be so willing and happy to help you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
To coach you and help you. So especially, I guess, as we get older, we become more like confident, if you can tell that, and we are more open to ask questions. But when you are young, maybe it is harder.
It is harder, and it's serving a purpose. Your self-protection of your vulnerability is serving a purpose. So that's an example of, let me meet you where you are. I see your vulnerability. I see your need to protect it. How can I help?
Right.
Because no matter what I say is not going to make it so that you suddenly, bare your soul to me. But if you're acknowledging that that's something that you're protecting, then how do we keep protecting it? And do you want to keep protecting it? Is that helping you?
Right. Because they need to be ready to get it, right? If they are
Right.
not ready, you can tell them so many times that they are not going to get it.
Right. And it's been what they've used to stay alive, literally stay alive for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be vulnerable in class. Don't be vulnerable in front of my friends. Don't tell a teacher I don't understand. Don't tell my mother I'm scared. Don't tell, I've got to get out on that field. I've got to get on that stage. We use that tool to push us, and then to all of a sudden be told, don't worry about it. You don't need that anymore. Forget it. Right. So how do we begin to adjust it and make it so that it works better for us?
Right. And that's how we teach our kids. At least I'm starting to tell the girls, like, things like, it's okay to fail the test.
Yes.
Even though, like, inside me, like, well, you need to have good grades, but it's okay in the sense that you will learn. It
right.
doesn't matter.
And they need to hear that from someone that matters to them. Right. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So one last thing, Allison, because I know you are very generous with your time, but would you have any comment or any advice or any suggestion for I'm gonna go with women jumping into entrepreneurship? It doesn't matter if it is construction, because you said I'm a businesswoman. Do you have any recommendation for somebody that is doubting or is not ready or don't feel ready to jump into the world of entrepreneurship?
Well, I guess what pops to mind is, if you're thinking about jumping into entrepreneurship, you're already a pretty special and unique person, because you're willing to carry the beauty and the risk of that. Mm-hmm. And that in an entirety is a pretty beautiful and magical thing. So if just knowing that you've been bitten by the entrepreneur bug, you're in it, and you might as well jump and get all wet and all messy. And then I would say that, sort of thematically, what you and I have been talking about this whole time is that develop as much awareness as you can about who you are, that at your core will never ever change. Mm-hmm. And just go with that. Mm-hmm. You will learn, you will adapt, you will get good at other things as well. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. But the beauty of being an entrepreneur is that you get to be so fully yourself. Mm-hmm. And the more time maybe you spend with a coach helping you know who you are, the more successful your business will be. And there's no end point. Back to that theme. There's not going to ever be a moment where you're like, I just killed it. I'm awesome. And even if you have that moment, it lasts for about 5 minutes. So write it down. But it's about, for entrepreneurs, it's about the journey.
Right.
It's not about, sort of the benchmark moments.
I agree. You will never get there, right? You will never get there.
No, but that's why you do it, is because you love give me more juice to play with. And can I have one last thing?
Sure.
I love this image. I'll just leave all entrepreneurs with. So life has ups and downs, right? There's no doubt about it. And maybe the goal is to get out of the downs more quickly as you go along. But if you picture your ups and downs happening at this level, ups and downs, what happens in life and what happens as an entrepreneur is that you do grow and learn. So you move up to this next level. And at this next level, you still have ups and downs, but your downs are still higher than the ups when you were down here.
Oh,
so you're making progress.
Yay! I learned something. Oh, that is amazing, Allison. That is a very good point.
I keep that image in mind all the time, So entrepreneurs are magical people. So keep at it and keep going.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was amazing. And as I said, I could talk to you for years and years and years. So thank you so much again for your time, for your wisdom, for talking to us and giving us all your knowledge and your story. And I hope this will inspire a lot more to join our industry too, because we need all of you.
Yes, come into the conversation. Here we are. Yeah. Thank you for everything you do, Angela, to support all of these women and all of these folks coming into this industry. It's so critical.
Thank you. We are going to do it together, Allison.
Yes, we are.